A strike on a school in the city of Minab in southern Iran has claimed the lives of more than 150 people. The attack on the educational institution became one of the most tragic episodes of the US and Israel war against Iran. Well, at least that's the information provided by the Iranian side. Meanwhile, the Americans insist that the investigation is still ongoing, and it cannot be claimed that the school was attacked intentionally. So far, no one has claimed responsibility for what happened. The US and Israel have announced investigations. The Americans insist that they do not attack civilian targets. And the Israeli ambassador to the UN even suggested that the strike could have been carried out by Iranian forces. But when the Iranians talk about the attack on the school, they forget to mention that the school was actually located on the grounds of a military complex belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It has already been proven that the IRGC military base and the school shared logistics, and the school could have been a cover for the activities of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, since the regime knew that according to international law, even if a civilian facility is located on military grounds, it cannot be attacked. As you understand, according to international law, a US attack on the school, if that was the case, cannot be justified by the presence of a military complex on the premises. In this episode, I suggest we take an impartial and calm look at this story and gather all the known facts. I'm Alexei Pechi, let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and leave your comment under this video. By the way, this really helps promote the content on YouTube, and I would be grateful to you for that, and subscribe to my Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, what happened and why did it spark such heated discussions? As stated in Tehran, the Shajar-e-Taybi Elementary School in Minab in southern Iran came under rocket fire on the first day of the US and Israeli operation on February 28. In terms of civilian casualties, this is so far the deadliest incident at the start of this war. It is reported that the rocket hit the school during morning classes. In Iran, the school week lasts from Saturday to Thursday. And so, on February 28, when the US and Israel began striking the country, classes were in session at the school. Iranian authorities sent orders to close schools shortly after the strikes began at 9:40 a.m. on Saturday. It's very important to remember this time. The parents of the deceased children say they were informed promptly, told about the war's start, and called to pick up their children from school. When the parents came to pick up their children, the school had already been destroyed. The missile that allegedly hit the school destroyed at least half of the two-story concrete building at around 10:30 in the morning. As a result, dozens of schoolgirls aged 7 to 12 were among those killed. Officially, 175 people have been reported dead, most of them presumably schoolchildren. However, it's important to note a very significant point here. The data on the number of casualties varies. On Tuesday, Iran's chief prosecutor stated that 168 people had died. The head of the Public Relations Department of Iran's Ministry of Health, Hussein Kermanpour, stated that the strike on the school claimed the lives of about 180 children. The Mehr news agency, which is affiliated with the Iranian authorities, reported that the identities of only 99 of the deceased children have been established. It is impossible to verify all this information because no Western journalist is able to enter Iran. But what is definitely known at this point is that the attack on the school really did happen. And unfortunately, all previous reports, including those from the OSINT communities and unfortunately mine, stating that there was no attack, turned out to be untrue. On Tuesday, funerals were held for some of the victims. Workers used heavy machinery to dig 5 rows of graves, a total of about 100 at the cemetery, which is roughly 8 kilometers from the school. This is the very photo that everyone is seeing now. It's spreading on the internet. The funeral was broadcast on Iranian state television. Now let's talk about what is known about the school and most importantly its location. It's important to approach this situation very soberly. The city of Minab is located in the Hormozgan province in the southeast of Iran. This is a strategically important region for Iran, which is washed by the waters of the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf. This city is a key hub for the naval operations of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Those very naval forces that are now blocking the Strait of Hormuz. That is why the city has become one of the targets of attacks by the US and Israel. The Shajar-e-Tabi school was located about 600 meters from the Said al-Shuhada complex, the naval base of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This complex includes the headquarters of the Asif Missile Brigade, one of the main strike units of the Navy of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And most importantly, this school is located next to the IRGC base for a reason. This school is part of an extensive network of educational institutions that are structurally and administratively connected to the Navy of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They are primarily intended to provide education to the sons and daughters of IRGC military personnel. Nevertheless, I have to say this, and I will say it. A deliberate strike on a school, hospital, or any other civilian facility is classified as a war crime, not as selective attacks. Such actions also violate international law. And one more important point. According to the International Committee of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, even if schools are used for military purposes, the law, international law, obliges the parties to avoid or minimize harm to civilians and infrastructure, even if these schools are located on the territory of a military facility. In practice, however, civilian objects are regularly hit during war, as militants often use them for cover. Let me immediately point out one very important point. Satellite images show that back in 2013, the school building and the IRGC Navy base were combined into a single area. They were directly connected by roads. Later, in 2016, the school was surrounded by a separate wall separating it from the base, and later 3 separate sectors appeared on the territory of the military base. This is the school: the Shahid Absalan Specialized Clinic and the Said al-Shuhada Military Complex. At the same time, it is worth noting that during the US and Israeli attack on February 28th, missiles hit the IRGC base and the school. But the clinic located between them was not hit, and the clinic remained intact. That is, the strikes were selective, and it can be assumed that there was no intention to specifically target civilian objects. If the strike was carried out by the forces of the United States of America or Israel, then they either relied on outdated intelligence or they really intentionally attacked the school, assuming that there was something else there. But the question still remains open. If the Iranian authorities announced the evacuation of schools at 9:40 in the morning and the missile struck the school at around 10:30, then why weren't the children evacuated from this school during all that time? 6 days after the attack, no one has taken responsibility for the strike on the school. The US and Israel only made statements that the incident is being investigated. The Iranian authorities officially blamed the Americans for everything. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child expressed deep concern on Wednesday. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you found this episode interesting or useful, you can support our channel financially with your donation or a paid channel membership. You can do this using the links and details in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on your screen. I will be grateful for any support you can give. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.